the place where time comes to die. They tell you the truth on the first day, just not gently. No yelling, no dramatic speech, just a flat sentence delivered like paperwork. This is where you'll spend the rest of your life. For men with life sentences, prison isn't a place you pass through. It's a destination, a dead end where time doesn't heal. You just age inside it. The first thing that disappears isn't freedom. It's identity. Names are replaced with numbers. Choices are replaced with routines. Hope is replaced with compliance. You wake up when the lights tell you to. You eat when the bell tells you to. You move when the gate tells you to. And eventually, you stop asking why. Violence doesn't always arrive with fists. Sometimes it comes quietly, through indifference. In prison, suffering becomes background noise. A man crying in the cell next door is treated the same way as a broken light bulb. Unfortunate, but not urgent. After a while, nobody smiles. Not because they're angry, but because smiling feels pointless. What is there to smile for when the future is already written? The normalization of nothing. Prison doesn't need to destroy you violently. It just needs to convince you that you don't matter. Men learn quickly that caring is dangerous. Feeling makes time heavier. Hope makes disappointment sharper. So they shut down. They detach from the humanity still flickering inside them. Not because they want to, but because survival demands it. You see it everywhere. Men staring at walls like they're watching a movie only they can see. Men who don't flinch when bad news arrives. Men who speak about decades away others talk about weather. I'll be here forever, they say casually, as if discussing traffic. Many of them were already broken long before prison ever touched them. Abuse, neglect, poverty, chaos. Prison doesn't create trauma, it concentrates it. And for some men, incarceration doesn't make them better or worse. It just reveals who they were never allowed to become. A man called Miguel. Miguel Alvarez didn't arrive in prison believing he would change. He arrived believing he would disappear. Armed robbery, gang enhancements, firearm charges stacked on top of strikes. A sentence so long it felt abstract. 8 to 7 years to life. Miguel laughed when the judge read it. Not because it was funny, but because laughter was the last thing he had control over. He was 22 years old. He thought he'd be dead by 30 anyway. When people ask Miguel who he used to be, he doesn't romanticize it. I was empty, he says. Angry, loud, scared. I didn't care if I lived. In prison, the attitude blended in perfectly. Anger was normal. Hopelessness was expected. Self-destruction was routine. For years, Miguel didn't try to improve himself, because improvement suggested a future, and he didn't believe he had one. The prison within the prison. Most prisons operate on control. Locked doors, limited movement, constant suspicion. But even within that system, there are deeper layers. Some blocks feel like warehouses people society has already given up on. Cells close all day. Silence broken only by yelling, metal clanging, or the occasional fight. This is where time thickens. Days don't pass. They pile up. Men in these units don't talk about dreams. They talk about survival. Miguel spent years there. He learned how to sleep through noise, how to stay alert without looking alert, how to disappear emotionally while remaining physically present. He also learned something more dangerous. He learned how easy it is to stop caring. I was worse in prison than I ever was on the streets, he admits. I didn't care who I hurt. I didn't care if I lived. That mindset almost killed him. Not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, quietly, day after day. A different kind of yard. Change didn't come as a miracle. It came as a transfer. Miguel didn't ask for it, didn't expect it, didn't believe it would matter. The yard was different immediately. Cell doors opened during the day. Men walking with purpose instead of pacing. Conversations about books instead of beef. It felt suspicious. In prison, anything good usually comes with strings attached. This place didn't advertise redemption. It demanded responsibility. You didn't earn safety by intimidation. You earned it by participation, education, work assignments, programs focused on growth instead of punishment. For the first time in years, Miguel felt uncomfortable, not from danger, but from expectation. Hey, excuses didn't work. Nobody cared what you used to be. They only cared what you were willing to do now. Miguel hadn't been inside a classroom since he was a kid. School had always felt like a place designed to expose his weaknesses. Reading out loud, being wrong publicly, feeling stupid in front of others. So when he walked into his first college class inside prison, his instinct was to stay quiet, invisible. But something was different. No laughter when someone answered incorrectly. No judgment when someone struggled. Only patience. The professor spoke to them like they mattered. Not like inmates. Like students. Miguel didn't raise his hand that first day. But he listened. And for the first time in his life, learning didn't feel like humiliation. It felt like possibility. Structure saves lives. Miguel failed his first semester. Not because he wasn't capable, but because he didn't know how to manage himself. 5 classes. No plan. No structure. His professor didn't shame him. She gave him advice. Make a schedule, she said. Write everything down. Hold yourself accountable. Miguel bought a planner. He didn't realize it at the time, but that planner would become one of the most important objects in his life. He started waking up early, marking deadlines, tracking goals. Structure gave him something prison never had: direction. The next semester, he earned straight A's. Not because he was suddenly smarter, but because someone finally taught him how to believe in effort. Earning trust. Trust inside prison is rare and fragile. Miguel earned it slowly, by showing up, by helping others, by not cutting corners. Eventually, he was asked to assist in education programs. Tutor, mentor, clerk. He declined the pay, not because he didn't need it, but because he felt he owed something back. I took from people my whole life, he says. This was my way of giving something back. For the first time, Miguel felt useful. Not feared, not tolerated. Useful. A different way to see a cell. Miguel stopped calling his cell a cage. He called it his office. Books lined the walls. Notes taped neatly above his desk. Family photos carefully placed. He studied there, wrote there, planned there. It wasn't freedom, but it was purpose. And purpose changes how time feels. Time no longer hunted him. It worked with him. Miguel didn't know it yet, but his life had already split into 2 parts. Before someone believed in him, after he learned to believe in himself. What began as a prison sentence was quietly becoming something else. Not redemption, not freedom, but transformation. The system that was never meant to work. Prison systems were not designed to heal people. They were designed to contain them. Concrete, steel, rules stacked on top of rules. The goal was simple. Control the body, and the mind will follow. But over decades, something became clear. Control without purpose doesn't create safety. It creates decay. Most prisons function like pressure cookers. Men arrive already fractured by childhood trauma, poverty, addiction, violence. Instead of treating those wounds, the system locks them in a confined space and waits. Waits for compliance. Waits for time to pass. Waits for life to end. And when nothing changes, society calls it justice. The invisible wall. There are 2 kinds of prisons. The one you see, and the one inside the mind. The first is obvious. Bars, walls, cameras, counts, lockdowns. The second is harder to escape. It's the belief that you are exactly what your worst moment says you are. Most men inside prison don't just serve sentences. They serve identities. Gang member, violent offender, lost cause. Those labels become self-fulfilling. When you're told long enough that you are dangerous, disposable, unworthy, eventually you stop fighting it. You become what the system expects. Miguel watched it happen to men around him. Smart men who stopped trying. Kind men who learned to harden. Creative men who buried their talents because there was nowhere safe to express them. Prison didn't break them in one moment. It wore them down slowly. Why most programs fail. Over the years, countless rehabilitation programs have passed through prisons. Short-term, underfunded, poorly designed. Most fail for one simple reason. They treated symptoms, not causes. Anger management without addressing trauma. Job training without addressing self-worth. Discipline without meaning. You can't teach responsibility to someone who's never been shown they matter. Miguel had sat through plenty of programs like that. Check the box. Get the certificate. already lost. None of it mattered. What mattered was effort. Participation wasn't optional. Growth wasn't theoretical. Accountability wasn't punishment. It was expectation. And most importantly, dignity wasn't earned through fear. It was assumed. That alone disarmed men more effectively than any weapon ever could. The power of responsibility. Miguel didn't notice the change immediately. At first, it showed up in small ways. Men waking up early on purpose, showing up to jobs on time, taking pride in simple tasks. Then he noticed something deeper. People cared, not performatively, not to impress parole boards. They cared because their work mattered to someone else. Miguel became a teaching assistant, not a title given lightly. He helped men who had never believed they could learn, men who couldn't read fluently, men with undiagnosed learning disabilities, men who had been told they were stupid their entire lives. He watched something incredible happen. Men who once solved problems with violence now struggled with textbooks and kept trying anyway. That took courage. Education is identity reconstruction. Education didn't just teach information. It rewrote identity. In class discussions, men weren't defending reputations. They were defending ideas. They disagreed respectfully. They listened. They reflected. Miguel realized something unsettling. He had never learned how to think critically before. Not because he couldn't, but because nobody ever asked him to. Education gave him language for emotions he'd buried for decades. Trauma, shame, fear, words replaced fists. And that changed everything. The role of trust. Trust inside prison is transactional. But hey, it was relational. Officers supported movement instead of restricting it unnecessarily. Teachers treated students like equals. Administrators rewarded consistency, not intimidation. That trust created pressure, not fear-based pressure, but moral pressure. If you messed up, you didn't just lose privileges. You disappointed people who believed in you. Miguel saw men self-correcting ways he'd never witnessed before. Arguments de-escalated. Conflicts mediated. Egos checked. Not because they were forced to, but because they didn't want to lose what they built. The dogs. When the dogs arrived, nobody knew what to expect. Dogs didn't belong in prison. They were softness in a hard place. For many men, it had been decades since they touched an animal. A living being that didn't judge, didn't ask about charges, didn't care about tattoos, just presence. Miguel watched men melt. Men who hadn't cried in 30 years. Men who hadn't allowed themselves to feel joy since childhood. Training dogs required patience, consistency, calm communication, gentle correction. Everything prison had taught them not to be. And somehow, through caring for something vulnerable, men rediscovered parts of themselves they thought were gone forever. Some said the dogs were being saved. Most knew the truth. The dogs were saving them. When the system notices, success doesn't stay invisible forever. Word spread. Administrators noticed. Wardens noticed. People outside the prison noticed. Then came something nobody expected. Commutations. Parole hearings. Second chances for men sentenced to die behind bars. Miguel watched men receive news they never thought they'd hear. You've been found suitable. Grown men shaking uncontrollably. Grown men crying openly. Grown men stunned into silence. Decades of waiting. Released a single sentence. And something remarkable happened. None of the men who left came back. Zero recidivism. Not because they feared prison, but because they had purpose. The proof on the wall. There was a wall inside the program. A vision board. Photos of men who had once stood where Miguel stood. Men who had been lifers. Men who had been written off. Men who were now free. With families. Jobs. Lives. This wasn't inspiration. It was evidence. Miguel stayed at that wall often. Not because he expected freedom, but because it reminded him transformation was real. The internal shift. Miguel stopped asking, will I ever get out? He started asking, who do I want to be, no matter what? That question changed everything. He planned for a future he might never see. A master's degree, a doctorate, teaching others, not for parole, for meaning. Because even if freedom never came, impact could. The system didn't change Miguel by being softer. It changed him by being human, by demanding growth instead just that he had changed, but that he might someday leave. The man who walks out different than he walked in. Freedom doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes quietly. A piece of paper, a signature, a date circled on a calendar you never believed you'd use. Miguel read the notice 3 times before it made sense. After decades of hearing no, the word approved felt unreal, like a typo the universe forgot to correct. He didn't celebrate, not at first. Hope was dangerous. The wait, the days leading up to release moved too slowly and too fast at the same time. Men congratulated him carefully, almost reverently, because everyone understood what this moment carried. Joy, fear, survivor's guilt. Miguel packed his belongings into a cardboard box. Letters, books, photos worn thin from being unfolded too many times. Everything he owned fit in his arms. Everything he had become was invisible. The last night, the final night inside prison was the hardest. Not because he wanted to stay, because he had to say goodbye to the man he used to be. The angry boy, the reckless young man, the prisoner who thought violence was strength. They had protected him once. They no longer belonged in the world he was entering. Miguel sat on his bunk and wrote a letter. Not to anyone else, to himself. He thanked the version of him that survived long enough to change. Then he folded the paper and left it behind. The walk, morning came without ceremony. No applause, no speeches, just gates opening one by one. Each gate sounded heavier than the last. Not because they were closing, because they were opening. Miguel stepped forward. The final door slid open and stopped. For a second, he froze. The world outside was too wide, too loud, too alive. Then he took one step, and another. Sunlight hit his face without bars to filter it. No fence behind him. No numbers in front of his name. Just outside time. Freedom was disorienting. Cars moved too fast. People spoke too casually. Choice existed everywhere. Miguel had spent years making every decision deliberately. Now, the world demanded instinct. He felt small and strong, both at once. Relearning life. Freedom wasn't the absence of rules. It was a presence of responsibility. Miguel struggled with things no one warned him about. Silence, crowds, mirrors. He didn't recognize his own reflection. Not because it looked different, but because it carried no uniform, no label, no assigned role. For the first time, he had to define himself without resistance. The weight of survival. At night, memories returned. Not nightmares, reminders, faces of men still inside. Men who had changed just as much. Men who might never walk out. Freedom felt heavy, unarmed. Miguel learned that surviving prison didn't end with release. You carry it quietly, in how you sit, in how you listen, in how you forgive yourself. Turning back without going back. Miguel didn't run from his past. He used it. He spoke in classrooms. He taught in prisons. He sat across from men who looked exactly like he once did. And he told them the truth. This isn't about getting out. It's about becoming someone worth trusting by others and by yourself. That message landed because it was honest. The legacy. Years later, Miguel stood in front of a group of students. Some free, some incarcerated, some unsure which direction their lives would go. He didn't call himself a miracle. He called himself evidence. Evidence that people are not frozen in their worst moments. Evidence that accountability and compassion can coexist. Evidence that system can change when they treat people like humans. The final truth. Miguel didn't walk out of prison the day he was released. He walked out years earlier. The day he chose responsibility over age. The day he chose growth over survival. The day someone treated him like he mattered. And he believed him. Prison took his freedom. It did not take his future. Some men leave prison unchanged. Others leave transformed. And a few leave carrying the responsibility to make sure the door stays open for those still inside.